Today is 5th of January, and there are some very interesting trends in the Murli today, which we need to think about. One is the contrast between indoctrination and study. So you have to think about, are you studying this? Or is it a matter of indoctrination that you don't think because someone who's indoctrinated doesn't know how to think, and someone who studies knows very well how to think, which is soul conscious, which is body conscious. The other trend in the Murli that's very interesting is Baba talks about the evolution of the soul during the Brahman life. You're moving from a devotee, on the whole based in Hinduism, and you are evolving through the stage of being a Brahmin, and ultimately you turn into, in your next life, a deity. So this process that we are in at the present time is one that alters the soul from the lowest stage to the highest stage. And it is an evolutionary process, not that you are evolving from one species into another, but in a way, yes, because an ordinary Tamil Pradhan person based in blind faith is a very different species of human from a deity who is naturally soul conscious, who is performing neutral karma, and who is experiencing the reward of the Brahman life, but without any memory of that. And Baba gives us the title, you are Trikaldarshi and Trinetri. So Trikaldarshi, you can see the three aspects of time, in particular the Iron Age, the Confluence Age, the Golden Age. And Trinetri is the one who has the eye of knowledge. You see the entire machine of human civilization. So very, very interesting. And the essence is, sweet children, your old life has changed. You are no longer a body conscious person of the Iron Age, and you have received a new life. You are mouth-born progeny of Brahma, so you have a new life because you have become a child of God, and your love is with the one Father. Love means that everything that sustains you physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, socially, and culturally comes from incorporeal Shiv Baba in the context of the yajna, the Brahman life. So the question is, what is the main sign of Brahmins who are in the process of becoming deities? And the answer, Brahmins, the mouth-born children of Brahma, all follow one direction. Follow one direction means that you understand the concepts of Gyan and you live according to them. It says here, they never have any difference of opinion. What this means is not that you don't have a difference of opinion, but that your concepts of Gyan, you don't have disagreement about that. Everybody knows you're a soul. God is not omnipresent. Krishna is not the speaker of the Gita. The cycle is 5,000 years. These are the things that you are aligned with. But it doesn't mean that over other matters you don't have differences of opinion. Obviously, all BKs have all sorts of different approaches to, do you want, what color paint do you want on the walls? Do you want lunch this time or that time? These are not what Baba's talking about. Do you want to do service this way or that way? This is not what he's talking about. Worldly Brahmins have many different opinions. So this word opinion is inappropriate. Mat is concepts. And so the Brahmins in the world are belonging to the Vedic tradition, and there are a lot of debates about whether there is Sato, Rajo, Tamo or not, about what is the meaning of Dvait and Advait. So these philosophical variations are what Baba is referring to. So in Gyan, we don't have these philosophical variations because Baba has clarified everything, and he continues to clarify everything on a daily basis. So among the Brahmins, the worldly Brahmins, there are different types. And so they call themselves by these different types. Some Brahmins are for doing rituals. Some Brahmins are for traveling and teaching the Gita. Some Brahmins are for conducting marriages and cremations. And so they divide themselves into categories according to their function, their religious function. Some Brahmins looking after the temples and caring for the idols of the deities. So you, Brahmins, are becoming deities. That's very different. And you are doing that by studying the knowledge and following the Shrimat of the One Father. And deities do not have different concepts. They all are in the same culture, in the same civilization. And the song is, "The day we met one another." Do you remember the day you realized Baba? Om Shanti. When the embodied soul meets the Supreme Soul, that is, when the child meets the Father, there is new love. Because your love breaks away from others. Many people, they had the experience, Daddy Janki in particular, Chandruban also had this experience. As soon as they saw Brahma Baba, this is my father. And the Lokik father may be standing next to them, but the feeling with Brahma Baba is, this is actually my father, this is not my father. So this is what Baba's talking about here. An example, a Kumari, first of all, loves her parents, the people in her parents' home, and then she becomes engaged to be married, and she has to connect her love with the new family, her in-laws, her husband, her other relatives by marriage. And she actually leaves her parents' home and goes to this other house. So the whole of the in-laws family is new people for her. And for us, there is new love in the new world. And that means love for the whole family. So all the people who are BKs are the people who are going to the golden age or silver age. And so our connection and relationship with BKs is a preparation for our connection and relationship with the people who will be deities in the new world. And so Baba says there is love for the new family. It is said, well-known saying, the souls were separated for a long time from the Supreme Soul, and ultimately there was a beautiful meeting through the broker. So the broker is Brahma Baba, and so Baba's taking up the beautiful meeting, which is new. This home is new, And the relationships are also new. You know that you are Brahma Kumars and Kumaris, and you are not any longer Shudra Kumars and Kumaris. The Brahma Kumars and Kumaris have much love for each other because you recognize you are God's children, they are also God's children. God is incorporeal, so your love for other BKs is a love for the soul, recognition of the soul. Doesn't have much to do with the BK personalities or behavior. That's their part. But who they are, these are the ancient souls of the deity civilization. And you love this. There must be love for him, Brahma Baba, in the corporeal form. Shiv Baba within Brahma Baba. Because how do you express love for the incorporeal one? So Shiv Baba comes into the body of Brahma Baba and interacts with us through that body. And you interact with Shiv Baba through the body of Brahma Baba. It is not possible for souls to interact with each other unless there is a body. And then the same applies for God. But many people, they think that they can interact with God as souls. But as soon as you're just a soul without a body, and he is just a soul without a body, and that's all going on in the soul world, there's no interaction. So the devotees are interacting with ideas about God. But BKs have an interaction with God through Brahma Baba, which is an actual interaction. So this is something new. When a soul is separate from a body, there is no love. So love is to do with interaction. When souls meet the Supreme Soul through the corporeal form, there can be love, interaction. You can take drishti from Shiv Baba. You can listen to what he says. And in the early days, Shiv Baba used to hug Brahmins through the body of Brahma Baba. I got a hug once. That was nice. So you continue to sing about the form of the incorporeal one, saying you are the mother and the father. And because of you, we are able to receive great happiness through your mercy. So when Shiv Baba comes into the body of Brahma Baba and there is interaction, then he is the mother and the father. Shiv Baba the mother, Brahma Baba the father, Brahma Baba the mother. And you also say, O purifier, come. When Bharat was great, there was a great deal of prosperity. And it was called the land of happiness and prosperity. Happiness means prosperity. Now it is the land of sorrow. Sorrow means impoverishment and hardship. Souls reside in the region of peace, and souls are pure there. It is not possible for an impure soul to go into the soul world. This is also another reason why it's not possible for any soul with karmic accounts to go to nirvana, because they're not pure. You have now attained the Father, and therefore each of you has gained a new life. Your old life has changed, and you are now creating a new life. You're building your identity as a Brahman, and slowly, slowly you're finding yourself. You're claiming your inheritance of unlimited happiness from the Father. So unlimited wealth, prosperity, good relationships, good health, all of this. Only in Bharat, in heaven, is there this level of prosperity. There is absolute stillness in the region of nirvana, your home. And you should explain that souls dwell in the region of silence, and the Father also dwells there. Shiv Baba does not pass through the cycle of birth and death as we souls do. He is a soul, not a human soul. He is the Supreme Soul. And he dwells in Paramdham, the Supreme Abode. And we souls also dwell there, and we are all the children, eternal children of the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul. And all of us dwell there. That is our original home. So we do remember our home. When someone dies, they leave their body, people say such and such a person has gone to Parinirvana. They've gone to nirvana. That is the place beyond sound. No thought, no action, no interaction. The place of silence, stillness. And we dwell there where there is no sign of the sun or the moon, no shadow. At this time, we continue to remember Baba. And when the Father comes, he tells us new information once again. If the people of the world would understand this drama, they would say that every step we take at every second is new. So this is a great paradox. It is a predestined drama, and every step is new. It's already there, and it's getting created at the same time. This is the deepest of all deep points. The unlimited drama continues to turn. The Father comes and tells you new information, new concepts. He makes you into the seers of the three aspects of time, and he gives you the third eye of knowledge. The Father is the master of Brahman. Brahman is the soul world, and he is also the master of the three worlds. And this is proved by that he gives you the knowledge of the material world, the subtle world, and the incorporeal world. You do not become masters of the three worlds, but you do become emperors and empresses, masters of the corporeal world. To be masters of the three worlds means that you know the three worlds, and that means at all times. So Brahmins only know this at the confluence age, and that too, to some extent. You become the masters of just the one corporeal world of heaven. These are all new concepts. You become Baba's children in order to claim your inheritance from him. So the inheritance is first of all the knowledge, and then what you create with the knowledge, that becomes your fortune. To explain to anyone is very simple. Just ask them, what is your relationship with God? God is the creator of heaven. He is the mother and father. God could never be called the creator of hell or the creator of the world of sorrow and hardship. The Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul, establishes heaven through Brahma. So what is heaven? It is a civilization. And a civilization is based on an ideology. So Baba gives new concepts, new ideology, and the civilization based on that. So the philosophy of karma is the key, and the knowledge of the cycle. He would definitely create the new world of heaven. So the first thing God creates is the Brahman Dharma. I don't think we can call this a religion. Are you in the Brahman religion? Are you? It's a religion or it's a dharma? It's a dharma, right? So the definition of dharma is what you are. In the definition of Bodhi consciousness, it is said that you identify with your bodily religion and your bodily race, your bodily color, your bodily nationality, your bodily gender. And so religion is an attribute of Bodhi consciousness. But dharma is what you are. And when Baba talks about the swadharma, he's not talking about a religion. He says your swadharma is that you are a soul. So dharma means what you are. And then if you say you are a Brahman, if you say you are a Brahman, it is because you are doing actions that indicate that you are a Brahman. Right? So it's better to make a distinction between dharma, meaning what you are, and religion, meaning what you believe, which is incorrect. And then you've got a distinction. So Shiv Baba teaches Raj Yoga to people, through which they become Brahmins, and then as Brahmins, they change slowly into deities. So deities means a giver. And you cannot give unless you are completely full. So you become full of Shiv Baba's knowledge and full of his qualities, and you also become pure, and then you can be a deity. So there is the deity dharma through Vishnu. So Vishnu means when Brahma Baba and Saraswati become perfect, that is symbolized by Vishnu. And then they take birth as Lakshmi and Narayan. And so then that becomes the civilization of the deities. Now you become Brahmins at this time. You also become Kshatriya. So Brahmins who fail become Kshatriya, and Brahmins who succeed become deities. And so Baba says he establishes three dharmas: the Brahman Dharma, the deity Dharma, the Kshatriya Dharma. So you go into the Dharma of Vishnu, and right now you have come into the Dharma of God. The Dharma of God is you are souls, remembering Shiv Baba. And this is also called the Brahman Dharma because he teaches you and makes you into his children through Brahma and gives you a way of life, which is called Brahman. So this is a dharma, but it's not a religion. So then in the future, you will go into the deity dharma. So the Brahman Dharma is also needed. Brahmins are Mukhavam Shavali, the mouth-born creation, created through Prajapita Brahma. And so they are the children of Brahma, mouth-born children of Brahma, and that is initiated by Shiv Baba. Now, sannyasis also create through the mouth. So if you're a sannyasi, you need some followers. So somebody makes an application to be their follower. And then they say, okay, you can be my follower. And that's called creation through the mouth. But they don't create children, they create followers. So children are different from followers in that children have rights to the inheritance, and the followers don't. So what they create is not a family. They would say through their mouths, the sannyasis, you are my followers. Now, if you are a member of a family, a son of the father, then you receive an inheritance. You children know that as the days go by, the number of mouth-born children will continue to increase. There will continue to be many who become BKs. There will definitely be the same number of Brahmins as there are deities. The Brahmins become deities. So you can't have more deities than Brahmins. And deities come in two types, Golden Age deities and Silver Age deities. So that means there are supposed to be 330 million deities total by the end of the Silver Age, which means there have to be that many Brahmins. At the moment, we have got more or less 1 million Brahmins, I believe. And so from 1 million to 330 million is quite a large jump. And so in order for there to be that kind of large jump, this knowledge has to be quite widely recognized. The Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul, changes ordinary people, mortals, into Brahmins, and then into deities. So the deities are the immortals, and Brahmins are those who are changing from mortal to immortal through Brahma. And he, Brahma, would definitely become the master of heaven. So he becomes Narayan. And this is why there is the praise, this is in the Guru Granth Sahib, this expression, that it did not take God very long to change ordinary mortals into immortals, into the deities. So it's not in the Gita, it's in the Guru Granth Sahib. And the religion that Brahma Baba was part of was called the Valbachari. And the Valbacharis are believers in Krishna and Narayan, Vishnu. So they are Vaishnavas, which means they follow many practices of purity and vegetarian. So Baba comes and tells you new concepts for the new civilization. And because these are new concepts, new information for the new world, they do not figure in the scriptures. And this is why people become confused. What you tell them doesn't correspond with what they know from the scriptures. This is your godly community, Ishwarya Sampradaya. Baba uses these three words, parivar. You know that from avyakti parivar. Parivar means extended family. And then there is Sampradaya, which means community. And then there is Kul, which means clan. So we are those. Now, those who become Baba's children and then leave him, they return to the community of, which is called Asuri. So Asuri means the opposite of Suri, so the impure community. I don't think it's appropriate to use the word devilish because people can't relate to that. They think of devilish as being quite specific. People with horns and tails and who are doing the different kinds of activities in the pictures of hell. But if you think about it carefully, it really is a devilish community. But the word is upsetting for a lot of people. Once you say the word Mama and Baba, and you take in this knowledge, you will definitely receive an inheritance. And you continue to say Mama and Baba, and you even write Pita Shri Mateshwari. So for Shri Baba, Brahma Baba and Mama. So Brahma Baba, the Prajapita Brahma, is well known. Shiv Baba is also well known. And the soul says, "O God, the Father." And the Father says, first of all, I adopt Brahma, Prajapita Brahma. So he makes him into Brahma and calls him Prajapita Brahma. And so the new creation is done through the father of the people. And all of you are Brahmins. You are adopted through Brahma. And so that makes you a new creation, isn't it? You must definitely be many in number. And how could so many be born physically through Brahma, through poison, that is, through body fluids, basically? So Brahma, Prajapita Brahma, the father of the people, and Jagat Amba, the mother of the world, are remembered. And they're all one and the same. Brahma, Vishnu, Lakshmi and Narayan, Jagat Amba. So they're not different people. Otherwise, in bhakti, they think of them as different people. So you would not see them with the same features again. They take rebirth, different features. Every human being is seen with the same features after a cycle. So you have your fixed face. When you come back in 5,000 years, you have the same face. I hope you like your face. Do you like your face?
It does the job. It does the job.
It does the job. No, it is, your face reflects you, right? And your face corresponds to your karma, right? So here, they make just one being with many different features. So that means lots of different types of representations of Radhe, Krishna, Narayan, Lakshmi. Go on the internet, find a picture of Vishnu, you'll have hundreds of different faces. So there are many people who are called Radhe Krishna. It's a double name, Radhe Krishna. But they don't understand that Radhe and Krishna are the names of the first prince and princess of heaven. And we are Tamil Pradhan, we are impure, and so how can we use those names? It's not appropriate. In the Golden Age, the names of all the people correspond with their characteristics because all the names have a meaning. Shiv Baba is telling you new information. This is new information, new concepts for the new world. And Baba says, I told you all this knowledge in the previous cycle, and I'm telling you all this information once again now. And you are now listening to me. When you become deities, this knowledge will have vanished. The climb is so high, this evolution from ordinary person into a deity, very high. And it is also sung that there are those who are amazed by this knowledge, and they came and belonged to the Father. They listened to the knowledge. They told it to others, but then, because of Maya, they left. And so they can no longer tell anyone, come to the BKs, because they themselves have gone. This too is fixed in the drama. So whatever is fixed in the drama has a meaning. So everything that's fixed in the drama is classified as good, right? So we have to think about how all these things that you ordinarily think of as bad are actually good. So Baba says it is nothing new. Many will come and go. Even some of those who were here in the bhatti were defeated by Maya and ran away. I met quite a big quantity of those. There was one time a funeral in Madhuban of one of the very old BKs who was from the beginning. And then all these relatives came to the funeral, old Sindhis. And I was sitting with them, in a funeral, you have to sit for a long time. And so they were all telling me, yeah, we were in the yagya before at the beginning. So it's very interesting to talk to them, because how the yagya was in the beginning and then they left and how it evolved to now is a huge difference. And so to talk to people who were there in the beginning, you get a sort of an angle on how it was at the beginning. According to the effort they made, that will be their status. So the knowledge is your inheritance, and then what you do with it, you create your status. If any of you would ask about yourself or your relatives, so this is, I think, a reference to those who have relatives who used to be in Gyan in the early days, and or people who are partly in Gyan, not in Gyan. So if you ask, that means what will happen to me in my next birth. That's what you're asking about. You can be told, and you can also understand for yourself what your status would be according to that situation. So you can calculate exactly what kind of birth you would get in all your other births in the cycle, depending on how you're functioning in the confluence age. The father sits here and will explain about the Conference of Religions that is going on in Delhi. So a different subject now. They organize conferences for the purpose of establishing peace in the world. And they are trying to unite and become one. So this is an effort that was going on and has been going on for quite a long time. And in the, I don't remember when it was, but it was about 100 years ago from now, Swami Vivekananda came to America and they had the Conference of Religions. And many efforts were created to create unity among religions, but Baba says they cannot become one because they will not let go of their tenets. So tenets are these doctrines, and so they won't, they'll be nice to each other, but they won't merge with each other. So they have a conference of all the religious heads, but they do not know how the religions come into existence number-wise. What is the number one religion? So the expression religious heads actually should apply to those who establish a religion. So these are the ones who should attend. For example, if they hold a conference of chief ministers, then the collectors or judges cannot attend. Collectors are one of the civil servants' ranks. When governors hold a conference for themselves, then only governors would attend. But yes, the governor would bring his private secretary with him. So just think about how all those religions are established number-wise. What is the greatest religion? The Adi Sanatan religion, or Adi Sanatan Dharma, is the deities, which is not a religion, but a dharma, a civilization. So where is the head of that religion? Who started it? They don't know. Who established that religion? Krishna is not living at this time. Otherwise, there would also have to be those who believe in Krishna. So those people are Valbachari. That is the same sect that Brahma Baba was part of. So the Valbacharis are Vaishnavite, which means they are vegetarian. So they're definitely, but it's interesting, it says vegetarian, but the people, the Valbachari people who were the first BKs, they were not vegetarian, right? They became vegetarian. The people of Baba's community, they took a lot of alcohol, cigarettes, and meat, and multiple wives in multiple countries, and all sorts of luxuries that for which you need lots of money. So there definitely used to be our deity Dharma, but then they speak of the Hindu Dharma. But the Hindu Dharma doesn't exist. There's no religion of Hindus. And there are no people, no deities of the deity Dharma. So the heads of the religions should come, means here to Baba, and they can bring their secretaries with them. There are 4 main religions. So Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, and deity Dharma. These are the 4 he talks about. So the heads of these religions have to come. So who is the head of the deity Dharma? So they sing that there is Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge, and Brahma, Prajapita, the father of the people. So they must definitely be the ancestors. They would understand, they too, the other religions would understand that the Brahman Dharma was created through Brahma, but they do not know how Brahmins were educated to be made into deities. Those Lokic Brahmins also say that they are the children of Brahma, but they do not know how they were created as children of Brahma. And there are different kinds of Brahmins. Here, you children of Brahma are just Brahmins. And there is no conflict between Brahmins. That means to say there is no difference of concept of what the Gyan is. Among the Lokic Brahmins, they are in conflict because they have different concepts about what the spiritual knowledge is, but not here. And then among deities, they also do not have different concepts of what spirituality is, or what life is, or what a human being is. And so this is why it says here there is no conflict. Conflict means what Baba uses the word conflict for normally is that there is war at the present time, ultimately between all the religions, because they have different concepts of God. And this is what they fight about. And they fight because they say that their concept is the right one and should be all over the world. And Baba says that's not going to succeed because none of them have it right. So all those who belong to the Sun dynasty belong to the Sun dynasty. So when the Sun dynasty is going on, they all have the same civilization. They have as one. And so there is no difference of concepts of what the civilization is. A lot of harm results from this conflict of concepts. And you are listening to new concepts from the Father. He does not sing songs, but he gives you a new type of information. He gives you the knowledge of the whole world cycle, and you have to imbibe it. You should not divorce such a father, teacher, and guru and stop studying. Why would someone stop studying? Either because they can't maintain the practice, or because they don't get what they want, or they don't like what they see, or something like that. But to stop studying means to leave the father. So if you're not his students, then you're also not his children, because he's the father, the teacher, the Satguru. So if you don't agree with the information, then you're no longer his child. So to leave the father means to lose the inheritance. So don't do that. Only the one father is the purifier. And the father says, it is now the time of settlement. So a lot of people leave because of karmic settlement. And so it is the time of settlement, and everyone has to return home to the soul world after settling their karmic accounts. When gold is put into a furnace in a crucible, it gets purified. The whole world is to be set on fire. But you would not be able to be purified in that fire. The conflagration of the world will not purify souls. Here it is a question of the power of yoga. Otherwise, you can get your outstanding karmic accounts settled by experiencing punishment in visions after you shed your body, because the accounts of sin have to be settled, and you have to become completely pure before you can return to the home. And now this is the time of the return journey, and there is the Mahabharata war as well. People celebrate the Festival of Holi. So what's that? The Festival of Holi is they take all the old furniture, put it in the crossroads, and set fire to it. And they also put a cake in it with a string around the cake, and everything goes except the string. So this is a reference to the Mahabharata war, where everything is destroyed except the souls. So the kingdom of Ravan is to end. And then in the kingdom of Ram, that refers to the golden age, the kingdom of God, there will be very few people. So now in the kingdom of Ravan, there are so many people. And where will all these souls go? Surely the liberator is also needed. So the father says, I will take everyone back home. I will ignite everyone's light of the soul and take them back home. Then they will have to return to the earth and play their own parts in their own time. And you know that you will come down quickly and go into the deity civilization. First, you go to the world of mukti, the world of light, and then you return to the earth. And you will become part of the sun and then the moon dynasties, and you will pass through 84 births. The whole cycle is in your intellect. Souls say, come, and I will tell you the occupation of Shiv Baba. No one except you children can say this. They say that the Supreme Soul is incorporeal, and what you say what would you say is his occupation? That's a funny way of putting it. When you're talking to people and they tell you God is incorporeal, and then you say, okay, what does he do? Because the definition of God is he's akarta, abhokta, asochta, which means he doesn't do anything, which means he doesn't have an occupation, which means he doesn't take birth. But then you celebrate Shivratri, so he does take birth, or Shiv Jayanti. So if he takes birth, then for what purpose? And his purpose is to give knowledge, so he has to come. Now he's the purifier. So then how does he purify? He has to come here to purify you. So his occupation is to teach Raj Yoga and establish the deity Dharma through Brahma. This is God's task. So Baba is sitting here and explaining everything to you. And he would just explain to his children. Those who studied in the previous cycle will study again. And if you are not able to study, anyone who can't study, they leave. This is nothing new. Nevertheless, Baba always has love for the children. So this is an interesting comment on the unconditional love. So it means that even if you reject Baba, you go away, he doesn't reject you. And Baba's love is that you should come back and get with claiming your inheritance from the Father. But if it's not in their fortune, he can't do anything. The Father has love for them. On the path of devotion, you remembered the Father a great deal. And those who belonged to the deity Dharma must certainly have been remembering him from the Copper Age. You remembered him a great deal for half the cycle. Souls experience happiness, and they also remember the Father at the time of sorrow. Sorrow means hardship, distress, pain. Souls do a lot of devotion, and ultimately they change from worshippers into worthy of worship. The sapling of those who were deities is now being planted. So the sapling is that when you get to the end of the tree, you become seeds. And so the final stage is like the beginning. You get planted. So therefore, wherever there are conferences, the people of the main religions should be invited. If they would invite BKs, they would be given appropriate advice. Only Brahma, Kumars, and Kumaris, the children of Brahma, the father of the people, can give appropriate advice about what is to be done, because they want peace in the world. So at that time, there was the Cold War going on. And there was a great concern that there would be nuclear war, 1960s, when Baba was speaking. So you would tell the people in that conference, okay, you want peace, but it is only in nirvana that there can be actual peace. Peace means immobility. Right now, it is the world of sorrow and hardship, and there are many different religions, and they are having different concepts. When there was only one Dharma, there was everything: purity, peace, happiness. So when there's only one ideology, one concept of what's what, then there's no conflict. Destruction will now definitely take place. And so you should be happy, because through the destruction, the gates of the civilization of heaven open. you daughters have to explain in this way. Do you understand? Acha. To the sweetest beloved, long lost and now found children, love, remembrance, and good morning from the mother, the father, Bap Dada, and the spiritual father says namaste to the spiritual children. Spiritual children say namaste to the spiritual father. And the essence for dharana, do not leave the father or stop studying because you would lose your inheritance. Remain united in one mat, means don't have disagreement about what the gyan is. Secondly, in order to be free from punishment after you leave your body, settle all your accounts of the past with the power of yoga. And the blessing is, may you become double light with the awareness of being a trustee and consider yourself to be an instrument as you carry out every task. The consciousness of being an instrument finishes the burdens. If you say, it is my responsibility, I have to look after it, I have to think about it, it becomes pressure, burden. This is the Father's responsibility, and the Father has made me a trustee, that is, an instrument. So be double light by having this awareness and continue to experience the flying stage. Where there is the word mine, it creates the pressure of a burden. So whenever you experience any burden, check, am I still, by mistake, saying mine instead of yours? And the slogan is, let there be soul-conscious feelings and good wishes in every word, and none of your words will then go to waste. So Shubha Bhavna and Shubha Kamna. So Shubh means pure, favorable. Have favorable feelings and good wishes, and then your words will not go to waste, means it will not cause disturbance. And then at the end, experience the stage of being merged in love. When someone is in the ocean, at that time, you cannot see anything except the ocean. In the same way, when you merge yourself into the ocean of virtues, you don't have to merge into the Father, but become merged in the Father's remembrance and in the ocean of love. So, merged in love means it's really a matter of prioritizing. Whatever you experience through sense perception, all the dramas that are going on, that's external, but it comes inside into your mind. But if you are busy with God, then those things do not take over. They're there, but you're not taken, or you're not overwhelmed by them, or they don't have a meaning that is more important than your interaction with God. So then ask yourself, what is my relationship with God? A good question. In the beginning, when you have the 7 days course, I don't know how people give the 7 days course nowadays, but the question was, what is your relationship with God? And so if you have a belief that God is omnipresent, then the question of relationship doesn't arise because you're all part of the everything. So you can't have a relationship with something that you already are. So it's a good question because people are anyway in relationship You can't have any experience unless you're in relationship with that which you have an experience of. So you're in relationship with your body, you're in relationship with your mind, in relationship with the drama, and in relationship with God. So how is your relationship with God? So is everybody clear about this idea of the evolution, that when you're in Gyan, you're here to evolve, and to evolve from a tamopradhan, ignorant, ordinary mortal into a satopradhan, knowledgeful, powerful being who is filled with the powers and qualities and virtues and knowledge of God. That's something, huh? That's extraordinary.
More than
It's extraordinary. It's revolution, it's revelation. And sometimes the question crosses my mind, which came up in the Murli today, that, okay, currently there are about 1 million BKs. And there have to be 330 million if the deities and the golden age and silver age is going to be populated. There have to be people who can populate it. So they all have to be Brahmins in the confluence age. And so how do you go from 1 million to 330 million? That's so 330 times what we have. So 330 times what we have. How are we going to do that?
each one.
Well, first of all, you have to think, if you, in your current state, can inspire somebody to become like you, so you have to make 300 people, and I don't think that is going to work. Each one. Daddy Prakash Mani used to say, each one teach one. You remember that? Each one teach one. And I think also what I think is interesting is to look at the difference between indoctrination and study. Indoctrination is where you do not allow people to think. That's indoctrination. And if you want to indoctrinate everybody, I think you're going to get a lot of resistance, because I don't think people really like being indoctrinated. Even though if you look at the world all over, people are very much indoctrinated, but they don't really, I think if they would see that they've been indoctrinated, they would say, either they would deny it, I'm not indoctrinated, or if they would really see, oh, I got indoctrinated, they would try and resist it, right? There was one big court case just now in California about a person who got a company which was very successful, and it was based on a concept and a technology which didn't work. And ultimately, it was shown that this didn't work. And so the company crashed. And it was, and there was some analysis of what happened here. And I found it very interesting, the analysis, because I think it's connected with this idea of study and indoctrination. So in California, we have Silicon Valley, which is where there are a lot of startups of technology businesses, and there are a lot of inventions. And when you invent something new, which takes off, like, I don't know, new inventions, a mobile phone, the personal computer, these things revolutionized life. And so there are many companies which are promoting products which they consider to be absolutely revolutionary and that work. And there's a very big concern about the intellectual property, because they want to keep their invention secret because they're worried that somebody else will copy it. And so they make sure that all the people who work in this company will sign a non-disclosure agreement, which means that whatever is going on in your company, you are not allowed to talk about it. And even if you know that the technology doesn't work, you're not allowed to talk about it because you signed this agreement. And so, Theranos. And but the thing is, why the analysis was interesting to me is that it happened because of the culture of non-disclosure agreements. And the person who was presenting the technology presented it as wonderful, marvelous, and fantastic, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. So it's a little bit like the Emperor's New Clothes. You know the story of the Emperor's New Clothes? It's one of the Hans Christian Andersen stories. And everybody was saying wonderful, marvelous, and fantastic, but there was actually nothing there. And when it comes to God and the knowledge, and our mandate is, okay, you have to tell everyone this is wonderful, marvelous, and fantastic so that they get it and then they use it, because this is also new technology, right? Being soul conscious and remembering Baba and shifting from a state of Tamo Pradhan to a state of Sato Pradhan cannot be accomplished by indoctrination, because you won't be able to think. And if you don't think, you won't be able to actually make the change. So he's giving us information, but that information has to be really processed. And you have to understand how it works. If you say that it works, that's indoctrination. And if you can explain how it works so that someone can understand, and that would be information, that would be study. And where you have blind faith, you have to have indoctrination. Because you remember I talked sometimes about suspension of disbelief. So, for example, in various religions, there are concepts that they want people to believe. Like, for example, Baba talks a lot about how God is not omnipresent. And there are lots and lots of people who are indoctrinated with the concept of God is omnipresent, but they are not able to demonstrate how God is omnipresent. And yet they believe it, and they want everybody else to believe it. That's indoctrination. But then when he says, no, I'm not omnipresent, because the meaning of omnipresent is XYZ, ABC, 1, 2, 3, XYZ. He defines omnipresent, and he explains very clearly how it's not possible for anything to be omnipresent except perhaps the vices. Right? Because the vices is to be motivated by sense perception. And that's the vices. So that's omnipresent. So, okay, that fulfills the criteria. And so if you want to study, you have to know criteria. If you want to study, you have to understand the use of logic. You have to know the difference between coherent and incoherent. And yesterday we were talking about this word conditional and conditions. Like, for example, planet Earth has got all the necessary conditions for life because it has 70% water. It has oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, whatever. It has all the necessary ingredients for life to happen. And it doesn't happen on Mars or on the moon or on any of the other planets because the conditions are not there. The conditions are necessary for something to happen. And so what are the conditions necessary for the remembrance of God? He says, extreme hardship. That's the conditions, right? He talked about spiritual laws. So the spiritual law, which people don't really agree with or like, but he says it's a spiritual law. You will remember me when everything else fails and when you are in extreme trouble. And the last thing you do is turn to God. So I think that in order for there to be 330 million people understanding this, there has to be something to motivate them to think that this is of interest, necessary, etc. And that doesn't depend on us, it depends on conditions. But then if you get those conditions and people come and they say, okay, the conditions are there, now you're the people who have the information about God, now tell us, because we have rights. And so then it becomes important for us. It was quite interesting that Baba said, and really think about being an instrument, because it may well be that to do this at such a time is beyond capacity. And so if you are an instrument, then he can work through you. Because how many Brahmins are there if everybody's equally talking to the same number of people? How many Brahmins can talk to 330 people continuously to be able to enable those people to grasp the subtleties of this? You know. And if you look at the 1 million BKs all over the world, Baba says all are number wise. So some people are more yogi than others. Some people are more clear about the knowledge. Some people have more virtues. Some people have more powers. Some people cannot explain it, but they believe it. Some people can repeat it, but they can't really articulate it so well. Some people like it, but they don't really know what it is, but they like it. And so there's huge variation. So then we can say that our experience of Baba, when you go in front of Baba in the big hall for an Avyakt meeting, what do you experience? A very, very powerful atmosphere, right? And your attention is totally focused on Baba and what he's saying. And in the later time, it was not so focused, but in the earlier time, 70s, 80s, 90s, beginning of the 2000s, very focused. Not very many people, but all of these 1 million BKs had this experience. And so it's there in the soul, in the memory. And I think it's very interesting that Baba can activate what we've experienced. Have you experienced that any time, that he activates what you've experienced and you can flow as you're talking to people, you can flow from that, and they will not necessarily hear what you say, but they will feel your feeling, and they will like that. Because verbal communication is only part of communication. The vibration is very important. So, yeah. So we have a few questions.
The topic, can you elaborate on the word focus? Like, it used to be
Focus?
more focused in 70s than now. What's the difference?
The difference is that BKs were very few, and they were very, very serious about the practice and very focused on it. The attention, yeah. Because there was not so much service going on. Brother Jagdish was very important in preparing material for communicating Raj Yoga outside India. And so he prepared the books and he prepared the pictures. And then subsequently, everything became added to and developed and so on. But he was the initial one who did this. And you see, at that time, the quality of yoga was a lot stronger than it is now. And people's contact with Baba was a lot more intimate and very strong. And so when you would meet Bab Dada at that time, you would have about 4 hours meditation before Baba came. And Baba would stay all night. And so you didn't do anything else except focus on Baba. And all the activities of preparation of food and all of this was very much in yoga. And people were very sensitive to atmosphere and all of that. But as the numbers grew, it became more worldly. And in the later time of Baba's meetings, you would come and sit down, but there wouldn't be that much meditation going on. And there was a lot of talking going on, a lot of socializing, and a lot of people who were not serious Raj Yogis present. So that modified the atmosphere quite a lot. And so you just see that difference, that when you have larger numbers, is definitely going to dilute the thing.
The silence is a little longer in what Baba speak word after word.
Well, it's true. You had to really process the things he said, because everything he said was big. And you really needed to be very focused to take it in and to process it and retain it and go into the stage that he's talking about. So it was quite intense and a very, very high vibration. And only people who are really pure can handle that vibration. Because the problem for someone who's not serious Raj Yogi is when you go into that kind of atmosphere, it'll make you crazy, because the difference between yourself and that atmosphere is too big. And so they were very, very strict that you have to be a heavy-duty yogi to come here. And later on, you could be a VIP or a family member of a VIP or a friend of a BK or whatever. And so that was a different atmosphere. And as Baba said in the Murli, whatever happens is good. It's nothing new. It's as it should be. But I'm just thinking about what we need to do to make it attractive for souls to be able to feel this feeling of Baba, that they will say, yes, this is he, this is what it is. And mostly the conditions of the world, and maybe the contrast between the atmosphere of the world and the atmosphere of Baba's place and Baba's people has to be really strong. Baba had said a few things, like he said, a time will come when they will come looking for you. They will see visions of people in white, and they will come looking. And so that means conditions in the world will be quite extreme for that to happen. And so in such a time, our level of yoga has to be very strong, very stable, very much like in those days. And then you see the other thing Baba had said is a time will come when you will not have time for yourselves, because you will be in a lot of demand. So that means you have to think about how to handle a very big demand. And there was a circumstance that happened in South America where someone very important picked up the Gyan, and who had a television following and who broadcast it very widely. And there were so many people coming that it was very difficult for the Brahmins to handle it. And I think it's sort of died down now. But every so often you get these events, these occurrences where Baba will give you the experience of, can you handle it when there is a very, very large number of people who are very thirsty for this, and they are expecting you to provide them, because there's a promise. We say in our advertising, come and you can experience peace and love and happiness, and we will tell you the knowledge of the third eye and the three worlds and the cycle and everything. And so they say, okay, give it to us. And you say, oh, no, I can't. You can't do that, right? So every so often we have to think about it and say, am I able to, set myself in such a way that the Ganges can come through without overwhelming or drowning me? Because when a river is in spate, it's big. Have you seen? When there is monsoon in India, in the eastern part of India, and a lot of rain comes, then the Brahmaputra goes in spate. And that means the speed of the flow and the height of the river is such that anything in its way is carried off. Anything. And so this is also symbolic that a time will come when, this flow of knowledge will have to be very, very like that, in spate. Okay, there's one question. It's not good to be emotionally dependent on another. What if you housekeep and are financially dependent? Financially dependent is different from emotionally dependent. And the problem of financially dependent is that you don't necessarily articulate your rights. So Baba has said that if you're married to someone who is the breadwinner, you have a right to 50% of the money. And they will not tell you. And they will make you like a slave or a servant and give you a very small amount. And you go along with that because the culture is like that. And so Baba is making us powerful and powerful enough to be able to claim our rights. So if you can claim your rights from Baba, the right to peace and happiness and knowledge and the right to meditate and all these things, that will also give you the strength to articulate that, you know, I'm here and I'm the half partner. Baba calls it half partner. And so you are, you have rights. It says, yesterday in the Murli, it says you don't need to go in person to the Murli if you're not getting along with someone. I didn't say that, nor did Baba say that. What Baba said is that there can be a situation where things are really not going well, and it's much bigger than not getting along. But some incident can happen where there's a big conflict, but don't make anybody's behavior a reason for you to leave Baba. And so if there's a serious problem in the center between you and the person who's running the center or something like that, don't stop studying the Murli, and the situation will blow over after a while anyway. And when Baba says in the Murli, love each other, I've made it very clear in my comments on the Murli that we recognize that these are deity souls. And so you recognize them, you love them because they are deity souls. And it doesn't have much to do with their part in drama or their behavior or something like that. So you have to understand that love is not like lovey-dovey or getting into a very close relationship. That's not the meaning of love. That's not what Baba's talking about. He's talking about that you know who the person is, so you can't be prejudiced against them. You cannot be acting in a way that is harmful to them or something like that. So you need to understand how to function in a gathering of people, knowing who they are as souls and not being under the influence of their part or their behavior. In the question, did Brahma in physical do a lot of hugging? In the very beginning of the yajna, from time to time, Baba and Mama would sit and take the family, which was 300 people only, and give a hug. And it was fairly formal. It wasn't like you going around hugging this one and that one and the other one. No, not like that. It was always quite a formal thing. We still have 16 years to reach 330 million. You don't know. Who says 16 years? You might have 16 minutes. We don't know about the time. How can we become teachers? We get opportunities to share the knowledge frequently. And this is how you develop the capability And then as you get more involved in the service activities of the center and you practice to explain to people who come for the course and so on, gradually you build up your capacity as a teacher. All right. Yeah. Someone from 1981 has seen the difference. What's the difference between good wishes and blessings? I think you have to go back to the original wording, which is shubhamna and shubhavna. And blessings is not the right word for it. You see, kamna is like a desire, that your desires for someone are favorable. You desire they should be happy, they should be comfortable, everything should go well for them. That's kamna. And bhavna is like an attitude, a perspective. You're favorable. You're not against. Blessings is vardhan. It's not in that sentence. Yeah, hardships ahead and hardships we have now. So yes, hardships make a difference. I experience a lot of progress in my ability to set boundaries, but I still feel sorrow because people do not like it. I think we need to really look at this word sorrow because it's an emotive word. And when Baba says dukh, it's really to do with harm rather than sorrow. So in the translations that we get, you have this word happiness and sorrow for dukh and sukh. And sukh means prosperity and dukh means distress and hardship, financial. So when somebody doesn't like your boundaries and they express their displeasure, they want you to feel sorrow because they can control you by your emotions. And so you do not need to be controllable by that. And you can easily be controllable if you're operating on the basis of the word happiness, meaning I feel good, and sorrow, meaning I feel bad. And then you become actually somebody who's easy to indoctrinate. So that is actually not really going to let you be in your power. So the question of setting boundaries will most definitely create displeasure because it means that you're telling people that they can no longer take advantage of you and they won't like it. But they have to get used to it. And they will try to make you not do that by making you feel bad about yourself. Don't buy into that game and don't fall into that trap because it's a game and a trap and nothing to do with what Baba calls sorrow. Though they may try to control you through manipulating your emotions, you have to use the power of discrimination and tolerance. You understand the game and that you are not going to buy into that game of getting manipulated through your emotional sensitivity. That's what you have to do. How is Shiv Baba the ocean of love if there's no love without a body? This is something you can spend the entire day churning on. This would be really useful. Because he says, you need to understand what is the meaning of love. And I mentioned a few times that love is expressed in the material world. The qualities of Shiv Baba, purity, peace, power, love, bliss, are there. They're energies. But you will not be able to experience them anywhere other than the material world. So what Shiv Baba is saying in this Murli, which is really interesting, is that until and unless I come in the body of Brahma and you meet me through the body of Brahma or subsequently through the body of Dadi Gulzar, there is no interaction. And once you have had a recognition of Baba, contact with Baba, then you carry on the relationship in your mind. So this is something to churn on whole day. Ask him, talk to him. Okay, you are the ocean of love. Let me feel you. Let me love you. Remember the reciprocity. As much as you love him, that much he will let you experience his love for you. Is the reason that we've been separated from Baba for a long time? Definitely, that's part of it. But mostly it's because, as a devotee, you know that there is God somewhere, but you don't have direct contact. It's when he incarnates and communicates, and you become his student, his child, his follower, and with the guru, the Sat Guru, then you're in relationship. And so this is a very special time, the most special of all special times. And then this question, is Baba Karan Karavanhar only in the confluence age? He does do things in the Copper Age and Iron Age, but everything is very direct in the confluence age. How much does a person's personality factors contribute in becoming a yogi? I don't think it's about a person's personality factors. It's about a person's love for God and love for humanity. And then personality is the embroidery, but you can have flowers or birds or butterflies. It doesn't matter that much. If I understood correctly, in the soul world, we will not experience God's love, but we do experience peace. No, you don't experience anything at all in the soul world. But when you are remembering Baba, you're not in the soul world, but you know that you were there, and you know that he is there, and you know that he has all these qualities. And by thinking about them, you come into connection with him, and then you're able to experience Baba while you are in the body on the earth, thinking about him in the soul world with his qualities in your mind. And that's not the same as when you're in the soul world, because when you're in the soul world, you don't know anything. You're like unconscious. So then you say, does this mean when we go into soul conscious state in meditation, we won't experience? No, not at all. When you're in a soul conscious state, it means you're disconnecting from sense perception, which means you can experience something which is beyond sense perception, which is very, very subtle. And that is what's called a supersensuous joy. Supersensuous means you're not using your senses to experience something. And most people are mostly using their senses, and mostly they are assuming that if they have a physical experience, that that's a spiritual experience. But it isn't. The spiritual experience is really very deep and very subtle. And when you move into soul consciousness, you're moving into another dimension. And Baba opens up this dimension at this time so that you can have these experiences in your mind that you cannot have in any other way. So think about these things and observe yourself, because you have to also make conclusions based on observation of what's going on in your consciousness. And there's a difference between that and when you're thinking in a logic type of way.
So Facebook on that question on the same lines is there interaction in Paramdam? Is Baba conscious of us remembering him whilst he is in Paramdam?
You see, Baba is not a human soul, so he is aware of us and he knows us independently of experience. And he experiences us when he comes through Brahma Baba, because experience of this type requires a body. And so he comes into the body of Brahma Baba and he sees you and he interacts with you through that body. But in the soul world, you do not experience anything. But when he is in the soul world, he is conscious, but you are not. So he's a different kind of non-human soul. It's deep, very deep. You have to ponder on it, think over it, let the ideas roll around in your intellect, and gradually they become clear. You experience peace in Shantidam and happiness in the Golden Age. Happiness means prosperity. You have money, you have health, you have good relationships. It's all material stuff. And peace in the Shantivan is, he didn't say you experience it. He says you have it, which is different. You are immobile. You're immobile. There is no sound, not even the sound of a thought. There is no experience. There is nothing at all except stillness. That is called Shanti. When you use the word peace, you're thinking about an experience, being peaceful, and that's a very worldly thing. But to go into that level of silence, it's very deep yoga, which only very few yogis actually do or can do. But you can think about it and you can consider it and you can imagine it. And then you can sometimes have a stage of meditation where you're focusing on the point and disconnecting from your body, where you can experience for a few moments absolute silence, but only for a few moments. It won't be longer than that, because you can't disconnect from your body for too long. But you have to practice it, because eventually you will leave the body and not come back. Okay, I didn't say there was a woman who was listening to Shiv Baba for a short period. What I said is that there was one sister who was used by Shiv Baba. He would come in her body and talk to Brahma Baba, and that lasted for 1 year. And then after a while, she left. Because Brahma Baba honored her when she was being the instrument of Shiv Baba, but when Shiv Baba stopped using her, there was no need for Brahma Baba to honor her, because she was a regular BK student like everybody else. And then not being honored was something she didn't like. Yeah, Daddy Janki used to talk about dead silence. There's something called sanata. There's a Hindi word, sanata, and it's the silence that happens when a yogi leaves the body. There's a very powerful silent atmosphere that comes, which is called sanata. And so Daddy Janki was talking about that you practice silence, and you have to work on it and work with it. Nobody's going to do your work for you. Explanations will be given, but you have to sit there and experiment and practice and figure it out. And just remember that this is not particularly easy Raj Yoga. It is very easy to use the words, but it's not very easy to actually do it. And so slowly ponder it, think about it, experiment with it. Do not get disappointed in yourself. Realize that you're doing something very, very subtle. And to make yourself subtle from gross takes time, many years. So we go step by step by step. Okay, so let us close with a moment of silence, Baba's remembrance.